Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jane, the Digital Event Coordinator at Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand. We are part of the Info Exchange Group, a not-for-profit social enterprise that tackles the biggest social challenges by creating use of technology. Today, I'm very excited to welcome you to join Reduce the Threats of Cyber Attack with Kieran Cook. Kieran is a security expert with over 20 years experience in IT and security, supporting organizations in both public and private sectors. He has been with Kaspersky just over 7 years and is currently pre-sales manager for ANZ. He's passionate about simplifying complicated matters, helping customers finding the best fit solutions for their needs and ensuring partners are armed with solid understanding of advanced security solutions Kaspersky brings to the market. Based in Sydney, in his spare time, he loves to cook and enjoys building things from repurposed materials. And his latest project being a 100 liters plant box in his balcony. All right, before we begin, we'll start with a bit of housekeeping. All lines are muted, so if you have any technical issues, please type into the questions box and we'll be here to assist you. If you have any questions during the webinar, please also type into the questions box and Kieran will get them answered by the end. So there's no silly questions. Please try to make the sections as interactive as possible. But please note that your comments and questions will not be appear to the entire group. So the webinar is being recorded. The link with the recording and the presentation slides will be sent to you in 1 to 2 business days. And there's a short survey at the end of the webinar. So please help us to complete that so that we can improve even better. All right, now I'll hand over to Kieran for today's sections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean, and thank you to my marketing department for writing that introduction as well. Right, so yeah, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm going to be talking to you today, as Jean mentioned, I guess like the best methods or a method to reduce the threat of cyber attacks. And what we're going to be concentrating on today is more about the end users, the people behind the keyboards, who are commonly recognised as being probably the major source of cyber incidents, as you can see here. And the reason humans are the major source for incidents is because, as you can see at the bottom there, it is the easiest way for threat actors, malicious parties to gain access or to compromise a system in some way. So you can see here it's quite easy. It's much easier to trick a human than it is to trick software or those types of sort of protection mechanisms. And as you can see there, it's quite a lot cheaper as well. Zero-day exploits, which are sort of usually the go-to tools for the threat actors to take advantage of, can be quite expensive there. You can see any ranging, an Adobe exploit is around about $60,000 on today's market, and an Apple iOS exploit, and yes, Apple does have exploits available to them, and malicious software and all of the usual stuff. So yeah, Apple is as exposed as a Windows or an Android device, and yeah, those are, albeit quite a lot more expensive. So $2.5 million there you can see for a particular zero-day exploit. So whilst the people are the weakest links in any sort of environment, like 50% of organizations recognize that as being their most vulnerable point. And the other parts here as well is, the human behavior allows for a lot of exploitation as well. So things like sharing passwords, having confidential data on their own sort of personal devices, and then from the organisation's perspective as well, just not having the appropriate policies and rules in place to have control or to respond to incidents from that sort of side as well. Now, threats obviously cost a lot, and regardless of the size of organisation, you can see here enterprise organisations around about 1.1 mil, small to medium-sized businesses, so it's like about a tenfold increase from SMB up to enterprise, and obviously that's going to have variation depending on the size of the organisation as well. But then only 50% of organisations actually have I guess like experience these incidents as a result of inappropriate use of IT resources by employees. So the global financial or the financial losses are quite significant, and I think that even like these numbers are probably more on the commercial side of things. So in the not-for-profit sector, that's there's going to be other elements to that as well, because what this encapsulates is reputational costs as well. And I know in the not-for-profit and the charity and general not-for-profit sort of sector, reputation is everything, because if you don't have a reputation, then potentially there's going to be losses of donations and those types of things, and there's going to be ongoing effects of that, not just from the perspective of the cleanup or the paying the ransom, or if it was a ransomware incident. So I think even for not-for-profits, there's a much higher cost potentially there as well. So obviously COVID has had quite an effect on sort of how we operate and how we work on a daily basis. So you can see here that again, 50% of companies that allow working from personal devices don't really have the policies on how they're actually used. Only a third of businesses are providing staff with, like when they are using those personal devices, security to actually protect those devices. And again, a third, third of employees are receiving malicious emails that relate to COVID-related topics. So, and that's actually been increasing over the past couple of years. You can see this survey was done around about what are we in now, 2022? So even, what are we up to now? Nearly 2 years ago. So time is certainly flying. But the COVID topic of emails, SMSs, and all that sort of stuff has just skyrocketed over the past 18 to 24 months. There was also I heard a part of an interview last night on ABC Radio with what's his name? No, can't remember his name, but basically talking about all of the SMSs that people are receiving to trick them into, installing, perhaps malicious code on their Android devices, or inputting personal data. So there's a lot of different mechanisms whereby people are being tricked into sharing their information, or are installing malicious code, which might then give backdoor access to systems within the corporate environment as well. So we've got half of the users working from home using a VPN. That can certainly be improved. And again, half users are using their work resources for, shall we say, personal pleasures. and nearly 3/4 of workers haven't received any IT sort of security awareness since transitioning from the work environment to the home environment for the working sort of for the day-to-day working environment. So that's certainly something as well which can or should be improved, because working in the corporate, in the office environment, is going to have different challenges to working from home as well. Now, just as a bit of an example of what it is we're talking about and how easy it is to trick users into clicking on malicious links and those types of things, we've got one particular example here, and you can probably spy, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse here, but spy this little dot here below the B. So, you know, it would be very, very easy, you know, to, even if you were quite, you know, rigid in checking the links before clicking on something, you know how you have the hidden link underneath an email. So if you were to hover your mouse over an email, over a link in an email, and it came up with Adobe with that little dot underneath it, it'd be very, very easy to miss that dot. So, you know, and I'll show you where that actually comes from as well. But that's a dangerous thing. Now, the second one is even harder to spy. So this again is a potentially malicious link, and what is probably a lot harder to discern within this link is the A. And if I show you the correct link, you'll see what I mean. So you'll see here that this A is actually the correct link. And these are what's called homoglyph attacks. So homoglyphs are where, and I'll show you a picture here at the end of this slide as well, but where the we share common characters with the Greek alphabet and the Cyrillic alphabet to present these different characters in the word, whatever it is. So Adobe is correct. Now this one here, you can, now that I've sort of shown you the Adobe versus the correct Adobe, you can probably spy here in maybanktoyou.com. And these are legitimate ones which have actually been used as malicious links. But you can see here the A, right? And the A in the second one is that same, I think it's actually a Cyrillic A in lowercase, and similar with Citibank here, you can see the A. Now this last one is probably a little more difficult to view, but you can see here that the G and the Q is sort of swapped around as well. So not even necessarily using the Cyrillic alphabet, but I believe this example of the Q was actually using potentially, actually these top ones were using a Greek alphabet A. This one here was using Cyrillic lowercase to represent that. And you see across here the sort of that shared group of characters with, you know, our own, I think it's a Germanic alphabet is the term for it, but then you've got the Cyrillic alphabet down here and the Greek alphabet over here, and you've got these shared characters between each one of the three. So it's something which, you know, is not necessarily easy to see, and if you're not aware of it, it's something you probably wouldn't even look for. So just having that ability of awareness can give you that extra level of awareness to be able to look out for these types of things when you are clicking on potentially strange links from sources that you may not know, or sources that may even be just a slightly bit suspicious. So you can have that awareness there. So our purpose here is to produce engaging, as it says there, engaging security education for organizations really of any size. But I guess, you know, why listen to Kaspersky? Why come to Kaspersky for this particular topic area? Now, Just to give you a little bit of background for those of you who don't know what Kaspersky is or where we've come from, we were founded back in '97, so that's now 24, 25 years by Eugene Kaspersky, and he's actually still the figurehead, the CEO, the chairman of Kaspersky. So he still runs the show, still owns it. It's privately held organization, and it's the largest security vendor, largest privately held security vendor in the globe as well. So you can see their turnover around about 704 million. So we've got, protecting 400 million users across the world. And we've got quite a list of credentials with regards to industry analysts as well. So you can see on this one here, the Gartner, not Magic Quadrant, but the Gartner Customer Choice Award, which I think is actually more valuable because we're now talking about, rather than the analysts sort of looking at it and doing their analysis of different products, we're actually talking about end user experience and how companies are actually interacting with the technologies and the platforms, so that you're getting real world feedback on these as well. So you can see here, top right on those customer choice, voice of the customer type analysis reports. So in both EMEA and Asia Pac, and the only one in both of those two as well. So Kaspersky, over the past few years, we've actually been building out quite a broad portfolio of cyber security or cyber awareness platforms. And the three that I want to talk about today are the gamified assessment tool, the automatic security awareness platform, and disconnected. So I'll show you briefly through those today as well. But we do also have the Kaspersky Interactive Protection Simulation, which is like a game board or even a virtual online or even a VR game that we've developed. We've got another one down there, Cybersecurity for IT Online, which is more like helping IT, maybe help desks or administrators raise the level of abilities to do things like reverse engineering and threat analysis and those types of things, but only at a very basic level. But yeah, let's talk about the three that we've got there, because I've only got a limited amount of time here. So so the point of these awareness platforms that we've been developing has been through basically the timeline, creating a pretty sort of defined timeline of how these platforms can be initiated, and they can all be acquired as standalone entities on their own, and you can get the benefit of those standalone platforms as a sole sort of provision of awareness education, but they all certainly have different purposes. So the three that we're talking about here, as I said before, is the Gamified Assessment Tool, or GAT, the Automatic Security Awareness Platform, or ASAP, and a brand new one, Disconnected, which was only released probably in the last few days, the Disconnected game. So you can see there, the pre-test sort of aligns to allow end users or allow companies to assess what the end users, what their employees' current level of awareness of security issues is as an overall assessment, and then you can then take those results. If you were running these all aligned, you can take the results for that and then plug that into the Automatic Security Awareness Platform to then provision your users at the appropriate levels, so that then they can enter the education process without having to sort of run through the the basic levels for themselves. And then the disconnected at the end, after they've gone through all of the awareness training and sort of brought themselves up to the appropriate levels of awareness that you require, then they can do their own sort of casual like game interaction, which will then have like a post-assessment, give you a post-assessment sort of report to allow you to understand how the provision of awareness training has increased the awareness of your employees. So the first one here is the gamified assessment tool, and I'm going to show you, just bring over here a platform. So you can see here that and close the wrong screen there, my apologies. One second. All right, so as an administrator of this game, actually, let me show you this first. I'll show you how the actual end user interacts with this game first. So with the end user, they get presented with a game board, and there's 3 different scenarios. And as they progress through, they basically look at these different tiles in the game board and they assess whether or not they think they are dangerous or safe. And when they click on one of these, it brings it up, and you can then place, it says their sort of bets on basically whether or not you think they're safe. So the green tokens are safe, and your confidence level with your answers. So if you're looking at this here and you go, okay, well, she's publishing a picture of a cat to Facebook, you know, it's only posting to her friends, she's saying that she's at home, so you know, generally that should be safe, but I'm not particularly confident with, like, yeah, I'm only sort of so with regards to the confidence. And then you basically just progress through the different tiles and assign your assessment and your confidence levels to those as well. And then I've left the last one down here. So, you know, I've got this last one here where we've got logging on to the Omega network, put in the email, we've got a password here, but we've got the password down here on a post-it note as well. So let's say, for instance, let's say we think that's dangerous, but we're not 100% sure. So we can finish off that, and we're confident about our bets or our assessments, and we then go through and say, okay, well, we actually did pretty well in this. We achieved a good score, got a high confidence levels, but then we can go back and we can learn more about our results. So we can see in here that, you know, these ones were correct, but then this little broken coin here shows this one, you know, might not have been correct. So we can click on that, and then we can go, well, you're wrong, this is actually a safe zone. So we betted that this was, or we assessed that this was going to be a dangerous one. We can learn more about why this was maybe, you know, a safe mechanism. So you can read about the information there as well. And we can sort of go through the different areas. You can see this one was correct. We can learn a little bit more about the ones, you know, that were correct, and basically just following through with those as well. So coming back to here, we had another one incorrect here. So you know, you're wrong, and again, learning a little bit more information. So this is basically just how the end users would interact with it. So once the end users have interacted with that, then you as the administrator, you have this dashboard to go back and find out, okay, well, what was the actual outcomes of my employees going through those assessments? And you can then get all of this feedback about the overall score, what the correct answers were, recommended starting levels for different users, and you know, the different sort of yeah, basically overall scores for these. You can download these as a report as well. So it's quite a good, I guess, assessment or pre-assessment of your environment to ensure that your users are, or to find out what level of understanding your users have of their surroundings in terms of security. So we have a game board for in the office. I think there's one in the cafe and there's one in the airport. So it gives a good sort of roundabout view of different environments and how people respond to those incidents in those different environments. So the next one that we've got as well is the Automatic Security Awareness Platform, or ASAP. And for that one, we have this one's quite an easy administrative console. I think one of the things, this is I guess probably the more common mode of awareness training that you would probably see on the market, where you have, you send out lessons to your end users and they participate in tests and then maybe have a phishing simulation tied into that as well. What we've found with a lot of those platforms is that they're quite onerous, very fantastic platforms. Most of them have phenomenal content to them. But one of the things I've seen with a lot of organizations that employ these things is that they often go weeks or months. I actually saw one customer who'd gone a full 2 years before they were actually able to get their awareness training platform in place and deployed, because they were interacting between IT and HR. They were trying to coordinate all of the different mechanisms within this particular platform. So it was a great platform, but it was very, very complex and onerous. So one of the things, or what we've tried to do with this platform, is to make it as simple as possible by basically making it, you grab your users, you can integrate it with Active Directory, or you can download like a list of users, you upload them, you categorize them, and then you press start, and it then basically takes care of itself. So we're trying to make it as simple and as easy as possible. So you can also break it down into even departments if you wanted. We've got it broken here into companies. So from an MSP perspective, MSPs can sort of manage it from a company perspective, but from an individual company perspective, you can also manage it in like departments if you want as well. Or you can just have it as a job lot to have everyone in the same department, just to make it easier if you want. But you can see here, basically you add users, you can import and synchronize users, so either through SCIM or local Active Directory services. You've got your dashboard here to give you an indication of where people are at, the different groups, and your users over here as well. So you can get an idea of what, excuse me, how users are going. And the users that I'm actually showing you here, this is actually my wife, this is my daughter, this is myself, this is a colleague. So my wife, I've run my wife and daughter through these trainings, and they've really been enjoying it. My wife sort of lets me know every now and then, says, oh, I'm going through the Kaspersky training. I'm like, oh, cool. And she looks forward to being able to complete each one of the lessons, and sort of gets that feeling of accomplishment going through it as well, because she gets these certificates down the bottom here. You can see that there was come on. There was okay. Start with this. Let's try a different one. Sorry, everyone, not sure what's going on here. Let's try that again. All right, so yeah, so we've got users, and you can get basically a timeline graph of how they're actually interacting and what they're doing to it builds up basically a full interaction map of when emails have been sent to them, when they've responded to them, when they've been engaging with the training, trainings that they've failed, trainings that they've passed, questions that they've failed, all that sort of stuff. So there's quite a comprehensive amount of information available to you in there as well. And you can also group them in training groups depending on what levels of training you want each one of your groups of users to achieve from the outset as well. And you can see in here that there's quite a lot of different content. So if we click over here, you can see here that we've got email, passwords and accounts, websites, social media, PC security, mobile devices, protecting confidential information, GDPR, and we've even just recently added industrial cybersecurity. So where this is a very much a living, breathing beast of a platform to where it's being developed and added to and improved all the time, and it's evident by this little roadmap here as well, where you get to see and interact with the development process as well. So you'll see on this board that there's indications of what's under construction, what's planned, what's in development, and you can then sort of go through these and go, okay, well actually, this is something which is important to me, and I can go in here and I can say, well, that's important to me. I can add my own contents, and I can submit that as something which is I want to vote for that, for example, and then that's going to go back to our development team to maybe increase or adjust the development lifecycle. So yeah, our end users have direct impact into the development of these platforms as well. So within the training groups and considering all of those, actually, sorry, one other thing here as well, we recently added what we call express courses. So you got the main bulk of courses, and then we've added these little sort of 5 to 15 minute sort of interactive video type courses, which are just sort of like little bite-size elements for each one of those topic areas. So that's a recent addition to it as well. But if we click on these training groups, you can see in here that it gives you a nice little Gantt chart to give you an indication of when we expect these trainings to actually complete by. And let me choose another group here. Let's go with Casey. So yeah, you can see here that you get some visibility of what. So an email will go out to give the end users some indication of what they're actually going to be interacting with, and then they go through and they start completing these lessons, and it sort of basically just takes them through the information to understand how they're actually going to be doing that. And then we've got the lessons, we've got some email notifications, and then we've got reinforcement, which is a really important thing as well, because what we find with a lot of training type platforms, or even when you put people into a room for a couple of hours every 6 months, it doesn't have the effect that it should have. What we're trying to do with this is trying to create or affect change in the behavior of your end users. So by doing a reinforcement of the skill sets that are being learned over time, then we're reinforcing that information within your brain, because there's I think it's called the the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. So think of it as a curve. So you get some information, and then 20 minutes later you've forgotten 60% of it. Then you get a bit more information, and you've forgotten 40% of it. And then you get a bit more reinforced information, and then you've forgotten 20% of it. So that constant reinforcement then allows you to have that information embedded and cemented in your brain, in your subconscious. It's like driving a car, right? You know, when you first start driving a car, you're nervous and all that sort of stuff. And then you get out, you do your thing, you come back to the car and you go, what do I have to do again? I have to start the car, I have to press the pedal. But then over time, when you start doing that over and over and over again, you don't even think about it, right? You're getting in, you're putting your seatbelt on, you're driving up the driveway, and by the time you get up the top of the driveway, you're not even realizing you're there because you're doing it subconsciously, which is not great for driving, but that's what we want people to do in the cybersecurity side of things. So as you can see here, we go through different areas. We get a knowledge test, and then we get a simulated phishing attack. So this is all embedded. It's all part of the standard process, which the system takes care of for you. You can see the phishing simulation is quite realistic here, and if someone clicks on this, then they get taken off to a page where they can get that immediate response and that immediate understanding of, okay, what did I do wrong, and how can I improve that sort of moving forward. So you fell for a phishing email. We scroll down, and you can see here, what should have tipped you off. Remember, reinforcing the things that you should have learned, and then clicking a button to confirm that you've read the recommendations above. All right. So all very things there. Then we can look at sorry, my browser doesn't seem to be behaving today. It's always good for a demo, isn't it? So this is my my browser rather than the platform. I've got a few other things happening on the other side as well, so I should have closed down before, but we will continue on. Oops, company. So you'll see here that in the group settings that you can also adjust the intensity, so what your expectations are of users interacting with these platforms, the percentage that they need to pass in order to get past to the next course. You can even turn certain topic areas on and off, or increase or decrease their level of knowledge that you're expecting them to learn. So, not every organization is going to use industrial cybersecurity, and then, the ones that are using industrial cybersecurity probably won't use the other ones. So, you can just have that one as a sole subject area. And then, as I said before, you've also got the express courses. And if we have a look at the content, you can see here that it's got quite a structured lesson plan, going through the lessons, reinforcement, knowledge test, simulation, and then moving up through the different sort of levels of understanding. You get some different topic areas, different simulations, different knowledge tests, and then also, if you're wanting to run your own phishing simulation campaigns, independent of the actual testing mechanism itself, you can always create your own templates and send them out as well. You can adjust your logo. You can have allowing early tests, so you can allow your end users to bypass the lessons by taking the test first, just to show that they understand the content. So you can see there's a lot of configuration here, but it's still kept quite simple in terms of its actual execution. Now, and I mean, all of these platforms, I'm kind of glancing over quite a lot of information here. Obviously, if you want a more in-depth demonstration, just let us know and we can certainly tee that up at any time. So the last one that I wanted to touch on today is, as I said, this has literally been released just in the last couple of days. And right now you can go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store to download the game, and you can interact with the first module for free in it as well. So that'll give you a bit of an idea of how it plays and sort of the interaction and what you might be getting out of that as well. So you can see here, we've developed this in conjunction with basically a gaming company to make it as interactive and engaging as possible. And it basically goes through a story scenario, and you're responding to these different basically different storylines, and then getting interaction through like SMSs that you're receiving from people, and how you might respond to those as well. So as you can see there, in total it's about an hour of gameplay, but split into sort of small sessions, so 5 to 10 minute sessions. It runs through a number of threats, and then there's a report at the end of it. As I was saying before, this is the purpose of this, whilst not solely the purpose of it, but a great use case for it is that we found is that it's a good follow-up from the awareness training, just to show how people have actually responded and taken on the different security awareness concepts that they've been learning throughout as well. So as I was saying before, this is, we've tried to set up these up as a linear type progression through these platforms. However, you can certainly engage these platforms in any way, shape or form you see fit. The interaction protection simulation is more of like a group facilitated team-based game, which we've actually found has been quite effective in terms of like having corporate sort of breakout days, where you might have one session where the teams get together, like a team building type of session. Then you've got the assessment tool to give you that view of where your users stand from a pre-assessment type perspective. You've got the training platforms for your basic training, and then your more advanced like IT specific training, and then the disconnected game for that post-training assessment as well. And that, as I said before, reassessment. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much about it from my perspective. And yeah, I'll wrap it up there and hand over to any questions that there might be.
Thank you very much, Kieran. It's very informative. So it's the Q&A sections now. So please just type your questions into the questions box and we'll get them answered. All right, so we got Jane here. So he's asking, what is the cost to access this assessment and training?
What is the what, sorry?
The cost to access
the cost, right, okay, yes. That is a good question. It's going to depend on your user counts and which platforms platform or platforms you wanted to look at. But certainly, I mean, come back to the your account manager there at Connecting Up, and they'll be able to set you up with a quote, or we can discuss what is going to be your specific requirements to get that cost for you.
Yeah, no worries, because I believe there are some depends on what kind of functions and options you need. So just contact us, Connecting Up, so that we can help you with the cost and then give you some more details.
Absolutely.
All right, he's also asking, so can we actually access the assessment without having Kaspersky?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Yes, the platforms we've designed them specifically so they are independent. So yeah, you absolutely don't need to be a Kaspersky customer, and the information in the courses don't even push you towards a Kaspersky application. So they're talking more general concepts and general ways of ensuring that you're up to speed with protection. So yeah, they're completely independent of your endpoint security or gateway security or whatever the case may be. So yes, absolutely.
Great. So we hope that answers your questions. Thank you. All right, so let me have a look with the questions. So there's no silly questions, so feel free to raise what you wish. All right, so let me see. We got Kat here. So he's asking, with the training, does the user need to read all the content, or is there a mechanism for the content to be read aloud? So for example, by the programs via your computer speakers, because some people don't read English extremely well, but speak English very well.
Right. So the express training courses do have audio content over the top. The main content training doesn't necessarily have that. However, I believe there are some fantastic plugins for Chrome which is able to read the any content on the screen. So I believe we have compatibility with those types of mechanisms to provide that sort of audio feedback for the visual content.
Lovely. Thank you, Kieran. All right. So before we finish up, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, I mean, other than if there's any interest or if there's anything that you wanted to learn more about, just let us know via your account manager at Connecting Up, and we can arrange a demo. There's free trials available to these as well. So yeah, we can certainly do whatever you need to experience these firsthand.
Lovely, thank you very much. And again, just a reminder, we'll be sending the recording and the presentation deck in 1 to 2 business days. So don't worry about if you miss any content, or if you want to refresh yourself, or even if you want to share with your colleagues or friends, please feel free to do so. And there's a short survey at the end we wish you could complete for us. So I guess all of you are seeing my screen now. So basically, apart from like cybersecurity products and educations, we are providing other areas such as social media. So we are having a really great webinar coming up on the 15th of February. So Alicia is giving us a webinar on 7 mistakes for not-for-profit make on social media and how to avoid them. Alicia is from Hancock Creative. She's one of the best speakers for social media for sure. She's having a lot of great reviews because she's a very strong speaker and very knowledgeable in social media, especially for not-for-profit sector. So don't miss this out. It's a really great event. If you're interested, you can join this by scanning the QR code right now, or we'll include that in the follow-up email with the presentation today. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Kieran, again for this wonderful webinar. I believe we'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Well,
Goodbye.
thank you very much, Jane.
Thank you.